So today we are going to start with our new topic, that is 4.2 factors affecting enzyme activity. So in our previous topic, that is in our previous lecture, that is 4.1, we studied about the enzyme, that is enzyme are the biocatalyst, and we studied about how enzymes are going to react and how the enzyme work, what was the enzyme action. So we have studied about all these things. Now basically, if you remember, the first thing that why the enzymes are used, because inside our body, enzymes are making a rate of reaction, or it is doing the reaction more quickly, which will be done or which is done by the high temperature pressure. So they are just like a substitute of high temperature and pressure within the body. Okay. So
Yeah.
as the high temperature and pressure, so if these things changes, then also enzyme activity will be different. Okay. So that is what now we are going to study, how the and what are the factors which can affect the enzyme activity. Okay. Now for enzyme to catalyze a reaction, they must come into contact with the substrate, and the enzyme must be of right shape. That is, as per the lock and key hypothesis. Enzymes are complex proteins, and their structures can be affected by factors such as temperature and pH. Basically, if we studied about the enzyme action, there are two hypotheses there. The first one is lock and key hypothesis, and then induced hypothesis. Okay, so in both the
Yeah.
cases, the enzyme that came into the substrate contact, and that enzyme must be of the right shape so that it can came into the attach with the substrate. Okay, and enzymes are basically a complex proteins, and these complex proteins are affected by temperature change and the pH change. pH means change in the acidic and the basic level. Okay, and temperature means if the temperature increase or decrease, their activity will also be increased or decreased. They can also changes in shape of their active site. Now, there can be a change in the case of their active site. Then again, also it will affect the enzyme activity. Enzymes are more likely to come in contact with the substrate if temperature and substrate concentration are increased. If we have a little bit of high temperature and substrate concentration is high, then this enzyme collaboration, or you can say the enzyme action, will be little bit more there. It will be increased. Got it?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
factors affecting enzyme action can be investigated by the by the measuring the rate of reaction they catalyze. Now, how you can say that that particular you can say condition is favoring enzyme action? That is by measuring the rate of reaction they are catalyzing. If the rate of reaction is fast, it means that particular condition is favoring the enzyme action. If the rate of reaction is hindered, it means that there is some problem with the enzyme. The enzyme is not liking that particular condition, or that particular condition is decreasing the activity of enzyme. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, now first is temperature. Now, increasing the temperature of a reaction environment increases the kinetic energy of the particle. Now, always remember, temperature is directly proportional to kinetic energy. Kinetic energy means motion. That is motion. As the temperature increases, kinetic energy of particle increases. And as the kinetic energy or motion of the particle increases, there must be a high probability of getting a good amount of collision, and that collision will be a successful collision. Clear?
Yeah.
And if there is a successful collision, that it means there will be a high rate of reaction, or the rate of reaction will increase. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Ji. Now that is what we have. As the temperature increases, the particle move faster and collide more frequently. In an enzyme controlled reaction, an increase in temperature will increase in more frequent successful collisions with substrate and enzyme, and this lead to an increase in the rate of reaction. The same thing I told you. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now there must be a specific temperature range. It can't be like that. If you are increasing the temperature, then again increasing the temperature, it will, you can say, increase the rate of reaction. It's not like that. For example, suppose if you are cooking something, you increase little bit amount of temperature. But if you increase a very high amount of temperature, what will happen? The food may
It
burn.
will burn. Yeah.
Okay, so it means that there must be a specific, you can say, amount of temperature that you can increase. Okay,
The optimum.
got it? The
Oh,
optimum temp. Yes,
yeah.
the word optimum is there. And whenever we are starting it, so suppose if you use oven or if you use any induction plate, so if you put it over the one knob, so there will be, it will take 5 minutes. If you put it to 10, the food will cook in 3 minutes. If you put it 15, the food will cook at 1.5 minutes. And if you put it on 20, it will burn.
Yeah.
So the first thing what we are getting from this thing is that there is a need of optimum temperature. Fine. The temperature should not be so high or it should not be so low. And the
Yeah.
second one is there is a temperature coefficient. That is, if you increase that much amount of temperature, then a particular amount of rate of reaction will be there. For example, the rate of reaction for every 10-degree rise in the temperature, the rate of reaction will be double. Here, and this is known as temperature coefficient. So the temperature coefficient Q10 of a reaction or a process is the measure how much rate of reaction increases with 10 degrees rise in temperature. For the enzyme control reaction, this is usually taken as 2, which means that rate of reaction doubles itself with a 10-degree rise in temperature or with a 10-degree rise. Got it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Any doubt up to this point? No?
No.
Okay. Now we know that this protein is this enzyme is the protein part. Now,
Yeah.
as the temperature is increased, there will be a denaturization in protein. For example, I think you have eaten egg.
Yeah.
Okay. If egg is there, if you boil it, what will happen? The egg will become hard.
Yeah.
This is known as denaturization of protein. Okay. It
Yeah.
means that there is a change in the structure of a protein. That primary protein structure is changing into the tertiary one or it is changing into the more complex one. The same case is there with the enzyme also. As enzymes are protein, their structure is affected by temperature. At high temperature, the bonds holding the proteins together vibrate more. And as a result, increase in the vibration, as a result, as the temperature increases, the vibration increases until the bonds strain and then break. Got it? The breaking of
Yeah.
these bonds result in the change in the precise tertiary structure of the protein. It will change the structure from tertiary to something else, and the enzyme has changed shape, and is said to have been denatured. Got it?
Yeah.
Now, as we know that enzyme is a protein, and at high temperature, the vibrations among the particles of protein is increased, which makes the bond loose, or which can loosen up the which can loosen up the bonds between the different proteins, and eventually it will break, and hence there's a change in the shape of the enzyme. We call this as a denatured enzyme. Okay, and when an enzyme is denatured, the activity site of the active site shape is also no longer complementary with the substrate. And hence, the substrate can no longer fit into the active site and the enzyme will not function as a catalyst. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so clear denaturization part?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. The optimum temperature I have already discussed. For example, okay, now you can see this graph. This graph, rate of reaction and temperature. If you see this point, this point, this point, up to this point. as the temperature is increasing, the rate of reaction is also increasing. But after this point, you can clearly see temperature is increasing, but the rate of reaction is decreasing. It means this temperature is the optimum temperature for a reaction or for that enzyme.
Yeah.
You can get maximum rate of reaction over that temperature. Something below or something high than that temperature, that is this temperature. This is the optimum temperature. If something is below or something is high than that temperature, the rate of reaction is not maximum. So maximum, or you can say the optimum temperature, is that temperature where we can get maximum rate of reaction, or in easy language, you can say that at that temperature, the enzyme activity is at its highest point, or we can get the highest efficiency with enzyme. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, now we will read it. The optimum temperature is the temperature at which the enzyme has the highest rate of activity. The optimum temperature of enzymes can vary significantly. Each and every enzyme has its own optimum temperature. Also, if pressure is changed, then this optimum temperature is changed. If there's a change in pH value is there, so then again there is a different optimum temperature. It is not a fixed one. Okay. For example, many enzymes in human body have optimum temperature around 40 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, thermophilic bacteria found in hot springs have enzymes with optimum temperature of 70 degrees Celsius. Okay. Okay. Now, if you remember, whenever sometimes our body temperature increases, we got fever. Why? Why our body increases its temperature? This increasing the body temperature is the natural phenomena by the body in order to protect ourselves. We know that if there is some unwanted enzyme inside our body tries to kill that particular enzyme. How? By increasing the optimum temperature. Our body normal temperature is 31 degrees Celsius. The body tries to increase the temperature to maybe 38, 40, 41, 42, so that it can kill that particular bacteria, or it can kill that particular enzyme. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And thermophilic means heat loving bacteria which are found in hot spring. They have optimum temperature of 70 degrees Celsius. Some psychophilic organisms that live in areas where cold, such as the Antarctic and Antarctic region, they have enzymes that can live up to below 5 degrees Celsius. But at a very low temperature or even at a very high temperature, these enzymes are not going to work. Okay. Once the enzymes have denatured above the optimum temperature, the decrease in the rate of reaction is rapid. You can clearly see this increment is having a little slope, but this decrement is a steep one. There is a steep slope. Now, as soon as denaturization took place, now the enzyme is not of any use. It is not going to work. Fine.
Yeah.
It means that from the boiled egg, you can't make omelette. Got it? You can only now eat it raw like this only. You can't do anything. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, Ji. Now there only need to be a slightly okay. Now once the enzyme have denatured above the optimum temperature, the decrease in rate of reaction is rapid. There only needs to be a slight change in shape of an active site for it no longer to be complementary to the substrate. Now, whenever denaturization takes place, there is a change in the active site, and little change in the active site will make it no longer complementary with the substrate. And this happens to all the enzyme molecules at about the same temperature. So the loss of activity is relatively abrupt. Got it?
Yeah.
So almost each and every enzyme is going to abruptly, there is a steep flow in the decrement in the rate of reactivity. Now, at this point, an enzyme control reaction, the temperature coefficient Q10 does not apply as more as the enzyme has denatured. Now, this Q10 thing, that is the temperature coefficient thing, will apply only whenever we are increasing temperature up to the optimum level. As
Yeah.
you're increasing that, as per the every 10 degree rise, there is a twice in the rate of reaction. The rate of reaction will double. But this thing is not whenever we are decreasing the temperature up after optimum thing. After optimum thing, it is not like that if you increase the temperature, the rate of reaction will be half, or you can say it will decrease. This decrement is an abrupt decrement, or you can say the decrement after the increment in the temp after this optimum temperature is a steep one. It's a very steep slope. Clear? Is that clear, Manya?
Yeah.
Okay. The decrease in the rate of reaction below the optimum temperature is less rapid. This is because enzymes have not denatured. They are just active. They are less active. So decrease in the rate of
So
reaction is yes.
before the optimum temperature, they are less active, but
Yes.
after it, they're denatured.
Yeah. Okay, the decrease in the rate of reaction below the optimum temperature. Now, if there's a temperature below the rate of reaction, below the optimum range, then this decrement is less rapid because at that point the enzyme is less active. It is not denatured. The activity is less, but not denatured one. Got it?
Yeah. So before the optimum temperature, they're
Yes.
less active.
Yes. Got it. Clear. Okay. Ji. Then we have temperature extremes. Now, extremes means range from high to low or from low to high. There is a good difference between the highest temperature and the lowest temperature. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ji. The majority of living organisms have evolved to cope up with living within a certain temperature range. For example, if you see human being, we can live in a temperature of around 0 degrees Celsius, -2, -3, -10 also. And human being is also living in deserted area where the temperature is around 50 degrees Celsius, 14 and 50, like in Dubai, like in Sharjah, like in Sahara. And you guys are living in London, where temperature may be, which may drop up to -2, -3, something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the same way, the enzyme can also live up to extreme ranges. So examples of extremely cold environment are deep oceans, high altitudes, and polar regions. The enzyme controlling the metabolic activity of organisms living in these environments needs to be adapted to cold. But see one thing, whenever these enzymes are inside our body temperature remains same, 37 degrees Celsius. It's not like that 37 to 36 or maybe 38. It will remain like this only. It is not like that if the person is living in Antarctica, its world temperature will decrease to 20 degrees Celsius. It won't be like that. Got it? And if a person is living in Sahara Desert, the temperature will increase to 40 degrees Celsius. No, it will remain up to 37, 38, something like that only. If he is healthy one, if he is not suffering from any disease. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the enzyme controlling the metabolic activity of living organism in these environments need to adapt to the cold. The enzymes adapted to the cold tend to have more flexible structure, particularly at the active site, making them less stable than the enzyme at the work at the high temperature. Smaller temperature changes will denature them. Smaller temperature changes will denature them. So if someone is living in a cold region, if some bacteria are there or some enzymes are there in the cold region, so what happens? They are, you can say, adopted, or they have now adopted themselves for the cold part. Okay, and
Yeah.
in that case, they
Yeah.
become more flexible structure, particularly at the active site, making them less stable than the enzyme working at high temperature. So the enzymes which are living in the cold conditions, their active site is more stable than that of the one which is at the higher temperature areas. Fine. So smaller temperature change will denature them. So if there is a small change in temperature, they will be denatured. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. The second paragraph is thermophils, that is the one heat loving, are organisms adapted to living in a very hot environment, such as hot spring and deep sea thermal vents. Now there are second type of organisms that are thermophiles, that is the heat loving one. They are adapted to live in a very hot environment, such as hot spring and deep sea hydrothermal vents. In a sea, we also have a high temperature waves, high temperature vents are there. So at that point, at that place, we find the enzymes which are heat loving. Now these enzymes adopt themselves to be more stable at the high temperature. And these enzymes present in these conditions are more stable than the other enzymes due to increased number of bonds, particularly hydrogen bond and the sulfur bridge in their tertiary structure. Now, the one or the enzymes which are present at high temperature, that is in the deep sea thermal wave or hot springs, they are supposed to be more stable than the enzyme due to increase in number of bonds. So hydrogen bonding
Yeah.
increases, sulfur bridge is there, sulfur bonding is there. So in their tertiary structure, the shape and the shape of these enzymes and their active site are most resistant to the change in the temperature rise. And their shape, because of this thing, their shape and their active site become so rigid, or it will be more resistant towards the change in the temperature. Or as the temperature rises, it won't going to change. Clear? This is a
Yeah.
little bit more resistant towards this one. Okay. This enzyme action, this cat one is there in your book. We have to study this one or not?
No, that's just in the textbook.
Because that is not there in the textbook. Okay. So till now we studied about up to how temperature is going to behave. First we studied about temperature, that is temperature coefficient, then denaturization of protein, then we studied about the optimum temperature, and then temperature extremes. Clear? Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we are going to start with pH. That is, pH means P is small, H is capital. That is known as power of hydrogen, HYDRO, hydrogen. That is power of hydrogen. Or it is represented as concentration of H positive ion. Now proteins and so-called enzymes are also affected by the change in pH. Now hydrogen bond and ionic bond between the ammonia acid and R group hold proteins in their precise in three-dimensional shape. And these bonds result from interaction between the polar and the charge R group present in the amino acid. Now, in case of amino acid, the structure is a 3D structure. Now, in this 3D structure, there are different bonding. There is the interaction between polar and the charged R group. Okay, which makes there is the interaction between the polar and the charged R group present on the amino acid, forming a primary structure. Now, a change in pH refers to the change in the hydrogen concentration. Now, as the hydrogen concentration is changed, then there will be a change in the structure. Now, more the hydrogen ion concentration means the acidic environment, and fewer hydrogen ion concentration means basic environment. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, Ji. Now see, the active site will only be at right shape at a certain hydrogen ion concentration, which is known as optimum pH of any particular enzyme. So for any particular enzyme to work, as the temperature is necessary, in the same way, an optimum amount of pH value is also necessary. You can clearly see in this figure, figure 2, rate of reaction or rate of enzyme activity will increase up to a certain limit, that is up to a certain pH value. So this is a pH graph. Okay. After this, if you increase the pH value, there is a drastic change in the rate of enzyme reaction, as we have discussed in the case of temperature also. Okay. So the effect of pH on the rate of enzyme control reaction. The rate of reaction decreases as the pH moves away from the active optimum temperature, becoming higher or lower. Now, okay. Now we have studied this thing. Is that clear? Any doubt?
Yeah, I get this.
Okay. Now, when the pH changes from optimum, becoming more acidic or alkaline, the structure of the enzyme and therefore the active site is altered. Now, whenever as there is a pH change, the active site is altered. And if this active site is altered, or there is a change in the active site, then there is not going to be a formation of enzyme substrate complex. And if there is no change, no formation of enzyme substrate complex, it means the rate of reaction will decrease. Now, however, if the pH returns to the optimum, then the protein will resume its normal shape and catalyzes the reaction again. Now, if pH returns to its optimum, if the pH is at the optimum one, then the protein will resume its normal shape. The protein will come to its normal shape, and the catalyzes the reaction again, and the reaction takes place again. Here, this is known as renaturation. Renaturation. With the help of acid and base thing, the renaturization can take place. Renaturization means opposite of denaturization. Clear?
Yeah.
So renaturization can take place with the help of pH change, if there is a change in the pH, but not in the case of heat one. So however, if the pH returns to the optimum, then the protein will resume its original shape or normal shape and catalyze the reaction again. And this is known as renaturation. Okay?
Yeah.
Got it clear?
Yeah.
When the pH changes more significantly beyond a certain pH, the structure of enzyme is irreversibly altered and the active site will no longer be complementary with the substrate. Same thing as we have discussed in the case of temperature. If there is a slight increase in the pH value than that of the optimum temperature, then there is a steep down, you can see. Fine. And why this happens? Because the active site is now no longer complementary with the substrate. And if the active site is not going to join with the substrate, then there will be no enzyme substrate complex, and hence everything is not there. Fine.
Yeah.
The enzyme is now said to be denatured and the substrate can no longer bind to the active site, and this will reduce the rate of reaction. Okay. Is that clear? Yes, Arya. Oh, sorry. Manya, is that clear, beta? Am I audible? I can't hear you. Okay. Now, hydrogen ion interaction with the polar and the charged R group, changing the concentration of hydrogen ions, therefore changes the degree of interaction. Now, what happens? This hydrogen ion, H positive ions, they are in interaction with the R group of the amino acids or proteins. And as the change in the concentration of this H positive ion took place, there will be a change in the interaction. And the interaction of R group with the hydrogen ion also affect the interaction of R group with each other. Now, as there is a change in the concentration of hydrogen ion, so whatever the interactions are there within the amino acid or within this one, it will be disturbed. So more the hydrogen ion present, that is lower pH value, the less the R group are able to interact with each other. This leads to the bond breaking and the shape of the enzyme changes. Clear?
Yeah.
But the reverse is true with fewer high concentration, fewer hydrogen ion concentration, or you can say that high pH level, that is at the basic level represent, the shape of an enzyme will change as the pH changes, and therefore it will only function with a narrow range of pH. So this pH value is very much necessary. More lower pH or more higher pH, both will disturb the interaction of R group with each other, leading to the bonds breaking and change in the enzyme substrate complex. Clear?
Yeah.
Got it? Any doubt?
No.
Okay. This means that the shape of an enzyme will change as the pH changes, and therefore it will only function with a narrow range of pH. Remember that thing, that optimum range of pH is a very narrow range. And table 1 shows the pH condition. You can clearly see this pH condition. For example, saliva. pH is neutral in nature. pH is 7 to 8. It will work in the mouth, saliva, through whatever the saliva we have now. It contains the enzyme amylase. It is basic in nature. 7 to 8, very slightly basic. Function is convert starch to maltose. Gastric juice, stomach, acidic in nature. HCl, pepsin, enzyme is pepsin. This pepsin enzyme work in the acidic environment. It converts protein into polypeptides. Pancreatic juice, site of action is small intestine, that is duodenum. pH value, they need to be alkaline in nature, that is slightly alkaline. Trypsin, lipase, amylase, maltase, all these are going to work in the basic environment. Got it clear?
Yeah.
So trypsin converts protein to polypeptides, lipase to triglycerides, glycerol and fatty acids, amylase to starch and maltose to glucose. So it means that these enzymes will work only within a narrow range of pH. Okay? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The next is substrate and enzyme concentration. Now suppose if there is a more concentration, the more number of bond will form, the more interaction will be there. And if the interaction is more, then it is a more probability of getting a successful collision. Okay. When the concentration of a substrate is increased, the number of substrate molecule atoms or ions in a particular area or volume will increase. Here, the increased number of substrate particle leads to higher collision. As the number of substrate particle increase, the collision rate will also increase with the active site of the enzyme. So there will be a more interaction, more collision will be there between the active site and the enzyme, and hence the formation of enzyme substrate complex will increase, and which means that the rate of reaction therefore increases. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is also true when the concentration of enzyme increases. This will increase the amount of variable sites in a particular area. Okay. Now, as the concentration of enzyme increases, there can be also be increase in the number of available sites. Okay. In a particular area, or the volume, leading to the formation of enzyme substrate complex at a faster rate, which means that the rate of reaction increases up to a certain limit, that is Gmax. This will up to a certain limit, and after this point it will remain constant. It will not drop down, it will remain constant. Now at this point, all the activity sites are occupied by the substrate particles, and no more enzyme substrate complex can be formed until the products are released from the active site. Is that point clear?
Yeah.
Okay. For example, suppose you have a box in which you can put only 10 pens. So if your box is full now, you can't put the 11th, 12th and 13th pen in it. It means that you have to take out something. Then only new can be added. In the same way, there is a maximum limit. There is a maximum limit for the velocity, or you can say maximum limit for the product formation. Here?
Yeah.
And this is known as Vmax. Okay, at this point, all the active sites are occupied by the substrate particle and no more enzyme substrate complex are formed until the product are released from the active site. And the only way to increase the rate of reaction would be to add more enzyme or increase the temperature. Now, if you increase the temperature or you increase the more enzyme, then this can be sorted out. Clear? Now, if the concentration of the enzyme is increased, more active sites are available, so the reaction rate will rise towards a higher Vmax. So there will be a change in the Vmax, it will become a little bit more. If there are more enzymes are there, the concentration of substrate becomes the limiting factor again, and the increasing this will once allow the reaction rate to rise until new Vx is reached. Is that point clear? The last one?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
see, if the concentration of enzyme is increased, the more active sites are available, so the reaction can rise up to a new higher Vmax. So now, after reaching this Vmax, what we are doing, we are increasing again the rate of increasing the concentration of enzyme. The new enzyme is put into the reaction. Now it means more active sites are there, and it means so the interaction rate can rise up to a new higher level. So instead of getting there, it will be going to this side, something like that. You will get a new Vmax this side. So this will become new Vmax. Sorry. This is new Vmax. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So if the concentration of enzyme is increased, the more active sites are available. So the reaction rate can rise towards a higher Vmax. The concentration of substrate becomes the limiting factor again. The concentration of substrate will become again the limiting factor, and increasing this will once again allow the reaction to rise until the new Vmax is reached. Now what we have to do, we have to increase the concentration of the substrate, and you will get your new rate of reaction. New Vmaxes will be available. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now investigation into the effect of different factors of enzyme activity, it is there or not? This red box thing is there in your syllabus or not?
This one, I don't know because we haven't been taught this yet. So
Okay, fine. No, in any previous chapter, this green box thing they have covered or not? No?
I don't remember.
Fine, no issue. Okay, so we have finished this. If you want to do this one, I will do. Otherwise, you can check with your teacher. And if your teacher say that
I'll
this is important, then we will do in our next class. Fine?
Yeah, I'll ask my teacher.
Yeah, okay. We still have time. So what we can do now, wait. We can do these questions.
Can we
Yes.
end the class right now because I have to go downstairs?
So that is all for today. We have done this 4.2 all, and so for the homework, try to do these questions based on whatever we have studied. That is 4.2. That is the explain the denatured with the reference of the enzyme. Denatured means whenever the change in the temperature or change in the pH, so enzyme activity has been changed. So you have to explain that 3-mark question. Now we have this graph. The below graph shows the optimum pH of 3 enzymes. The rate of reaction is this A, B, and C. So pH value ranges from I think from 1 to this is up to 4, from 4 to this is 8, and sorry 10. This is from 8 to 13. So in this case, Pepsin is the enzyme that along with the stomach acid digests proteins in the stomach. So state which of the curve ABC is likely to be present to represent the activity of enzyme pepsin over a range of pH and explain the reason of your choice. Now, okay, we will see pepsin. We have to find out the range of pepsin. Now, quickly look at this one. If you see this table, pepsin, where is pepsin? Yeah. So pepsin works within the range of 1 to 2, that is acidic pH. So the answer will be 1 to 2. This will be your answer, A group. Okay, reason the range of pH lies in this one. Okay, got it? So this is going to be your answer for second one. Then bacteria that colonize hydrothermal vents where temperature is very high have enzymes with high optimum temperature. Suggest why these bacteria are unlikely to cause infection in human bodies, because they require the high temperature for their survival, and in human body the temperature is not available, so they are unlikely to cause any infection in the human body, because in our human body the temperature is lower than that of their one, so they are not well functioned. Their optimum temperature is too high from the human body. The fourth is enzyme with very low optimum temperature tends to have quite flexible structure. Using your knowledge of collision theory, explain why this flexibility is necessary. This flexibility is necessary so that they can give their maximum action. Okay. Now, as the collision will take place, the low temperature means low temperature means there is low kinetic energy. Low kinetic energy means there is a low motion. It means lesser frequency, lesser number of collision will be there. So in order to get the maximum amount of product, or you can say in order to get the maximum amount of successful collision, they need to change their structure a little bit so that there will be a maximum, you can say there will be maximum or successful collision. So that's why there is a flexibility in their structure. So they will get maximum collision, or they will get a high successful product enzyme substrate complex. Okay, so that is all for this. So all these 4 questions you have to do. Okay, bye bye, take care guys, see you next week.